and welcome to another edition of Health Zone on the Adelphia channel. I'm your host, Amy Hendel, and I'm really interested in what you guys get out of today's show because it's past the new year. It's time for that New Year's resolution again, and we hope you're going to learn everything a New Year's resolution for weight loss and lifestyle change requires from A to Z. Guest up is Miss Andrea Giancoli, who's a registered dietitian, a consultant, an educator, and spokesperson for the American Dietetic Association. She's also a graduate of UCLA, where she earned her master's degree in public health nutrition. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Amy.
And as I have been talking about on groupings of shows that we've done on diseases associated with lifestyle issues, there are staggering rates of obesity in teen, and adult populations today. I don't expect a one-sentence answer, but what do you think is going on?
Well, like you said, it's very difficult to come up with a one-sentence answer for that. A lot of things are going on. Kids aren't getting as much activity as they used to. Adults aren't getting as much activity as they used to. Our food supply has changed a lot. We're very used to very large portions. The family dynamic has changed somewhat. Families aren't eating together as much as they used to. So there really is a lot going on that has led to this obesity epidemic. And if we really knew the core answer, we could probably figure it out and solve it.
Well, before we break down a resolution into its components when it comes to a lifestyle change, talk to me just philosophically. What do you think has to happen this time around in order for somebody to really get into a lifestyle change that's going to carry them for the long haul?
Well, sometimes people have to come to a breaking point where they've gone so far that if they don't make a change, it's going to have a real effect on their health later on or even immediately. For other people, it's really having to come to a commitment and choosing goals that are realistic. A lot of what happens with these New Year's resolutions to lose weight is people come up with very lofty goals, and they're not easy to reach, and so they end up giving up. So realistic goals are extremely important.
And do you find that the weight loss component of a lifestyle change can be very romantic and very seductive, and people are giving you compliments, and your face is getting thinner, and your body's getting thinner, and you're getting into these fabulous clothes, and then all of a sudden you hit so-called goal weight, and now comes the maintenance part, which I think is drudgery for most people.
Right. The maintenance part is actually the hardest part. It's losing the weight is the easiest part. Actually keeping it off is the hard part, and I think that's what people don't really focus on so much, is they're focused so much on the losing the weight. And of course you're getting a lot of feedback from people telling you how good you look, and you also might be thinking, gosh, I never want to get back to that that old weight again, because obviously I must have looked fat if people are telling me how great I'm looking now. Right. So, but really it's the maintenance part that is the commitment that we find that people don't really stick to as much. And that, I think, making the realistic goal, getting there and realizing that the work does not stop. The lifestyle change that you've made must continue. Okay,
now let's get into some of the more popular trends that have been going on in the last several years. And the first one for me would be that high-protein, high-fat diet known as the Atkins, or variations on the Atkins. Your thoughts on that?
There's so many variations on the Atkins. Well, there's not a lot of science backing that up as far as the research that Atkins works any better than any other diet. In fact, when Atkins and the Zone and the Dean Ornish diet, which is a very low-fat diet, and the Weight Watchers diet were all compared together, people pretty much lost about the same amount of weight. It didn't really matter which diet it was. So with that being said, you have to pick something that is going to work for you, and not every diet out there is going to work for every person out there.
Now there's a concept, the South Beach diet. They talk about good carbs and bad carbs. I mean, there are other components to the diet as well, but let's talk a little bit about good carbs and bad carbs. Is that where we went wrong?
I don't think so. And in fact, the high-protein diets have done one probably good thing for us, in that they've really brought forth these processed carbohydrates that aren't as good for us, like the white breads, the white rice, and have brought forth that we need to be thinking more about eating brown rice, whole grains, 100% whole wheat bread, corn, etc. So, people are starting to understand the difference between the refined processed carbohydrates and grains and the whole grains and the non-processed carbohydrates. So in that way, it's been a positive.
Okay. Now, it always occurred to me that organizations like Weight Watchers, who not only provide you with a diet, but provide you with a support group, would you say that something that has that component might be a sustainable lifestyle change that you can make because you are getting the support you need during that maintenance phase.
Absolutely. In fact, studies of Weight Watchers have shown that when dieters have been in the 10-week program and have gone every week for that support, they've lost an average of 11 pounds and kept it off. So that support is really important.
That's pretty significant, actually.
It is significant.
Okay, now another one out there, the American Pyramid. There's something that you don't talk about in terms of trends, but they did just recently revisit the American Pyramid. I thought they made some notable changes. I thought it was a little complicated now. I mean, you read through their website and so many rules, so many regulations, but I did notice they put in exercise, which I think is a cornerstone. They did clarify some things. What are your thoughts about how the American Pyramid has shifted, and can it be a helpful tool?
Well, it's now called My Pyramid. And what's behind that is one size does not fit all, and each person has their own pyramid. So my pyramid may be different from your pyramid. So what USDA has come up with is different calorie levels, and each person, they can plug in their information into the website. It comes up with a calorie level for them and a meal plan for them as well, how many fruits, vegetables, etc. that they should eat. Not everyone has access to online, so for those people it's not really going to work for them, but some of the principles behind it I think they've improved upon the old food guide pyramid. They've really brought forth whole grains are more important, that we really need to be eating more fruits and vegetables, lean proteins, 3 cups of dairy for our calcium every day. So I think some of the good principles are still there, but if you're not technically savvy, if you don't have access to the internet, it's not
really
going to work for you. Right.
And ditto, I suppose, for online dieting, though I'm curious as to your thoughts about having a relationship with your computer and doing these online dieting programs. What do you think about that?
Well, for some people, they really do work. They don't have time to go see a dietitian. They don't have time to go to a meeting. But they do have time to be at home and get onto the computer and put information in, and getting support from, say, a dietitian on the other end of cyberspace. It does work for them, for some people who have very busy lives and they don't have the time to actually go somewhere and get support.
I suppose a 24/7 option for somebody who's really, really busy, and that was their stumbling block in terms of trying to pull off a lifestyle change. Okay, let's get into a little nutrition 101, and I see you have something there that I can't wait for you to show to the viewers. First of all, let's talk about the healthy fats and the unhealthy fats. And now the mantra has become not necessarily to cut fats out of your diet, but you should be very choice specific about which ones you choose. So let's talk about that.
Yes, you should be very choice specific. Well, we want to be eating more monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats and less of the saturated fats and the trans fats. The saturated and trans fats aren't so good for our heart. They raise our cholesterol, whereas the unsaturated fats are good for our heart. So things like olive oil, fatty fish, nuts, etc., avocados are all the healthy fats for us. So we know there's a place for those healthy fats. However, all fat has 9 calories per gram, so it's not a license to overeat, to spread olive oil all over your salad or to, eat 2 avocados a day. It's just exchanging the saturated fats for the unsaturated fats.
So portion control in fats is still a very, very serious principle.
Yes, still very important.
Okay, now you touched very briefly on complex carbohydrates, or the ones that are higher in fiber versus the processed.
Right.
Again, run through some of the more popular choices that people might be able to avail themselves of, so they don't cut carbs out, they just choose better ones.
Cereal is a great example. A lot of people are eating breakfast cereal every morning. There are many, many cereals out there that are now made with whole grains, oatmeal, various ready-to-eat cereals. That's a very easy change that somebody can make. They can move from a high sugary processed cereal to a whole grain cereal and get it, and then right there they're getting 1 serving of whole grains.
Give me an example of something that might have more sugar than one dares to even want to know from these little tubes that you have here.
I would be happy to.
Okay, please.
Okay. First of all, I want you to look at these 2 tubes of sugar.
Okay.
They're completely full. Mm-hmm. This is how much sugar is in 1 12-ounce can of soda.
Wow. That's a lot of sugar. I mean, I think of sugar in terms of teaspoonfuls, so that's a lot of sugar. And how many cans a day does a typical American drink of regular soda?
Well, kids actually can drink about 20 ounces. And I think a lot of people don't really realize how much sugar, how much calories there are in regular soda. And those calories don't really register with our satiety factor. We don't, we don't feel satisfied after drinking liquid calories, so we end up eating more and having more calories on top of it when we have regular soda like that.
Okay, and that kind of leads me to my next principle, which is, so okay, somebody wants to move away from all of this, they go to the next hot diet book. The next hot diet book is going to solve the problems of the world. French women don't get fat. Why don't French women get fat?
Well, there are some fat French women, but the principle behind that is that, according to this author, that the French, they take time when they have their meals, they enjoy their meals, they have small portions, they eat fresh ingredients, they choose healthfully, and they're not overeating, they're not supersizing, and they're getting out and exercising. It's a different kind of lifestyle that the French seem to have.
Okay, and Michael Thurman seems to feel that he can make over your body in 6 days. Are you comfortable with a concept like that?
No.
You're not comfortable with a concept like that?
I'm not comfortable with that.
So quick fixes don't go over well with you?
Quick fixes don't go over well with most people. There's a lot, but we are very tempted by them. If you're guaranteed to lose 5 pounds in 3 days, most of us are going to try that if we're desperate. And more often than not, you will lose those 5 pounds, but you'll gain them back.
And then some, as I understand it, and then some. Okay, now if we're going to talk about really good principles, then you can't talk about nutrition or lifestyle change without talking about your metabolic rate. People want to get their metabolisms going. What is the best way to get your metabolism going? Some principles in nutrition.
Well, there's not a lot we can do to significantly change our metabolic rate, but exercise certainly, especially resistance exercise and building up your muscles. The more muscle to fat ratio you have, the higher your metabolic rate will be. And eating properly, not skipping meals. Skipping meals tends to slow our metabolism down. So by having a regular eating pattern, that will help balance out your metabolic rate and not slow it down.
How about fiber?
Fiber is actually fantastic because fiber helps us to feel full. And foods that are high in fiber tend to take up space in our body, and they also tend to be lower in calories and higher in nutrients. So we're getting fuller on more nutrients but fewer calories.
So if you had to make a comment about people who are successful for the long haul, what do you notice about those people? What do they do that our viewers can take away with them?
Well, there's something called the National Weight Control Registry this is people who have kept off weight for more than a year. And the 4 commonalities that they've found with these people is: 1, they eat breakfast.
Okay.
2, they exercise almost daily for about an hour. 3, they consume a low-fat, low-carbohydrate diet. And 4, they monitor themselves regularly.
Meaning they weigh themselves, they take note of what's happening.
Right. They're not obsessive, but they weigh themselves so that if they start to fall, they know they need to get kind of back on and maybe make some changes.
And I also noted that in the National Registry, a lot of people journaled. So they were really in touch with what they were doing.
Right. That's another thing that works very well for people. If you are writing everything down that you're eating and doing, you tend to think a lot more about what you're putting into your mouth.
Okay, and on that note, thinking about what you're putting in your mouth, there's another component that we raised in this segment, and that is the exercise conundrum. Is it going to take activity and exercise to get the weight off and keep it off? We'll have 2 experts weigh in on that when we return with more of Health Zone, so don't go away.